really excited. And so I enrolled in college so I can get time off. Everything, every course you get 3 weeks off. Your course gave me 2 weeks off. It was what's called VEP, Voluntary Education Program, and your course was under that flag.
And
right?
that was called Success After Prison, or Preparing for Success in Prison, or something like that?
Success After Prison, correct. And it was basically interviews like you're doing right now with different guys like Sean, the guy that became an attorney, and he became a professor, and another guy that had a really nice, business and, stuff like that. So it was really, really motivating.
So how do you find that course? How do you even hear about it when you're in prison?
Well, I went and sought out any program I can get into. I got into the dog program because I wanted to learn how to train service dogs for disabled vets. I wanted to do something good, give back. I got into that. I got into the college. I got into all the VEP. Which one was yours? There's 3 of them, and one was yours. I got into self-help programs. So I needed to work on myself, criminal thinking, anger management.
How is my program delivered in the jail?
So it comes on discs. So you come in the classroom and you sign up for the class for VEP in general, and they had 3 of them. So like one of them was on health, one of them was on whatever, and yours was a prison professor, right? And so you could take just one, or you could take all 3 of them. Each one you complete, you give you 2 weeks off. So that was my first motivation.
Welcome to the Prison Professors program. Today, I am speaking with Fadi Chaiban, an individual who contacted me, I think through social media, maybe it was LinkedIn or some other matter, to share his story about going through the California Department of Corrections. And I'm really enthusiastic to talk about him and hear how he learned about the Prison Professors program while he was inside of the prison. That's one of our missions here, is to try and teach and inspire people who are locked up. So Freddy, thank you so much. Congratulations first for getting out of prison, and thank you so much for reaching out to me when you came home. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your background and what brought you into the system, and then we'll get into the whole story.
Okay, so I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I have I've done a lot of things in my life, but just to put it simply, I grew up in Boston, graduated from high school at 16, went to college, got my degree. I was a restaurant manager. And I took a wrong turn in the road around 22, moved out here, got into I was a competitive bodybuilder. I ended up having a bunch of really successful legal businesses, from nightclubs to restaurants I had a show in Hawaii for 4 years. I had a transportation company in Las Vegas, a limo service, a talent agency. And then the only thing is, I always had some other things going on the other side. So in other words, I was raised with basically, my dad taught us that you're only worth what you have in your pocket, which is extremely dangerous for somebody like me that want to get rich at all costs, if you will. So my self-worth was attached to money. Now I didn't know any of this until I finally got to prison in 2017. What happened was I had started an escort service in Orange County. And
what year did you do that, Freddy?
In 2007, in 2012, I started an escort service. I moved to Orange County. I wanted to live in Newport Beach, and I needed the money.
How does somebody start an escort service?
So I've been in the business for a long time. Just like I explained earlier, I've always done it in one way or the other. From my show in Hawaii, I never set out to be an escort agent. It just kept falling in my lap, if you will. So for example, like when I was in Hawaii, I four-walled a showroom called Island Dolls, and it was like kind of like a topless type of review. And I would have a lot of celebrities come down when they go down to Hawaii. There isn't that many options for entertainment. So mine was one of the 2 or 3 options at the time in Waikiki. This is mid-90s. So I would have celebrities ask me if they could date one of the girls on the stage. And so it always fell in my lap. Like when I moved to Vegas, for example, I started limo service.
When you say, and I want to ask these questions because if I were a viewer, these are questions that I would have. When you say somebody asks you that they want to date one of the girls, What they really mean is they want to rent one of the girls, isn't it? Or do they really want to date them? Why would they ask you permission to date them?
Well, date is a key word for, of course, they want to be with them, right?
Why do they have to use a key word? Is it illegal?
Of course.
In every state?
There's only one state that has legalized prostitution, which is in Nevada. There's 7 counties that they allow, with a license, of course, and regulations and everything, that prostitution is legal in a prostitution house, like a brothel.
So how old were you when this was going on?
In the mid-90s, I was 32.
So you were 32 years old. You were in Hawaii. You owned a topless bar, and patrons of the topless bar would ask you, they want to date one of these girls. And right, you understood date to mean they want to engage in prostitution with this girl, I guess, if that's the right word.
Of course. I mean, they're not in love with the girl. They just want to, have fun.
And they didn't know how to approach the girl on their own, so they went through you as an intermediary.
They came to see the show, right? It's a Vegas type of review. It wasn't a strip club. It was like Crazy Girls.
So I was in prison for 26 years, so I don't know all these things. So what does that mean, a Vegas style of review?
So like in Vegas, they have these topless reviews like the Jubilee and Crazy Girls at the Riviera. So it's basically a bunch of beautiful women on the stage that they go topless, and they have dance numbers, music numbers, an MC that puts everything together as far as, glue it together with the song and dance and comedy and stuff like this. So it was those kind of shows. So it's basically the attraction is the good-looking girls on the stage. So basically, it's kind of
guys are paying to come and drink and watch good-looking girls on the stage.
Right. Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
And you are the owner of this facility that provides them the platform where they can go and be on the stage.
Correct. So I four-walled. It's called four-wall showroom, which means
that sounds like a pretty good job.
Yeah, it was a really good job, and it was legal. Not the dating part, but the
But you didn't start off with dating. You just started off by wanting to have one of these. You wanted to imitate the Vegas review, providing a platform, let women go on there. And how does the monetization plan work on something like that? Do the girls pay you to get on the stage, or do you pay them to get on the stage?
So in this case, it's a show. Just like if you go to a Vegas show, if you go to Mystere or Cirque du Soleil, so it was a show where they buy tickets. I had 6 days a week, I would have 2 shows, an earlier show and a dinner show. And the showroom sat 700 and somewhat, customers. So I would just sell the tickets. They'll come in, sit down, watch the show. It was an hour and a half, and then just leave. And that was the basically the format of the thing.
So if I'm an aspiring business guy and I'm interested in this model, here's what I understood you to say, and correct me if I'm wrong. You rent a venue, nice place that can seat 700 people. You have to have a liquor license. Is that right?
No, we didn't have liquor. This was this showroom, particular showroom was at the Aston Waikiki Terrace Hotel, which is just a hotel. And on the bottom, there's a showroom that I rented out from the hotel because they like to have a show there for people that stay at the hotel and other people, so they can come into the hotel. So it's an extra amenity for the people staying at the hotel. But I also advertise to everybody.
But the hotel has a liquor license.
Yes, of course. They have a bar and everything, but not inside my showroom. Outside the showroom, then they can go and eat if they want at the restaurant or go to the bar and stuff like that. Yeah.
So while they're in the showroom, can they buy liquor or not?
Yeah, they can buy liquor because it's still under the hotel.
Okay. So they buy a ticket to go in. They can buy liquor at the table. They can buy food at the table, and they'll watch the show. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the employees are going to be the people that serve the food, but also the women. Are the women employees, or are they contractors that are paying you to get on the stage, or are you paying them to get on the stage?
No, there was just 1099s, but they was basically employee of my company, and I paid them weekly salary. And I had the star of the show ended up being my girlfriend, which is another story, and she was paid handsomely too every week. Now,
so what is that? When you say pay handsomely, what does that mean?
At the time, she was getting $3,500 a week for 12 shows, 12 an hour, between an hour and a half shows. So,
those women are making $3,500 a week to get on the stage and dance 2 times. Is that right?
This is the start of the show, but the average dancer made between 12 and 1,500 a week.
12 and they have to audition by coming to you and a group of your team, and they determine if these women have the right skills for your audience or whatever for your audience. And you guys pick them and you hire them, and all of that is legal. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. That's just a legal show.
And that doesn't require any special type of license or anything like that?
No, I just had an entertainment license to do the show at that location, just a regular business license, also DBA, all the stuff that you have to do when you start a business,
And 700 people would go to that venue twice a day?
Yes. So I had 2 contracts. One, there's a lot of Japanese influence and people that come to Hawaii. You'll see that there's the locals and there's the people that come from the mainland, which is the rest of the states, the 50 states. And of course, there's a Japanese market there, heavy Japanese market. I don't know how it is today, of course. So this is over 20 years ago. And so I had a contract with Pleasant Hawaiian Holidays. They guaranteed me 350 people every day, and I gave them a discount for their people. That was part of they did tours, with people in the U.S. And also I had a Japanese company that would do at least 200 people a day. So I had a guarantee of 500 to 550 people every day without me having to directly market in Honolulu. See, so I packed them pretty good because again there wasn't really much competition. There was 2 other shows in Waikiki, which is on Oahu, the island of Oahu, and everybody was a little different. So everybody had their own little target market, if you will. And tourism was just, awesome in those days. I don't know how it is today. So it worked out really good. Yeah, we pretty much were at full capacity at all times. And I did this for 4 years. Mm-hmm.
And had no problems with law enforcement at all in Hawaii?
No, because it's a legit show. It's, it's licensed. We're not doing anything wrong or.
But then when they wanted to start the prostitution business, when did that start? How long were you in business when that started?
Well, I used to get, if I go back to when I had a nightclub with a couple of partners in San Diego, I'm digressing now, but I always had people that come in and say, because I always had really, really good looking, waitresses and barmaids and stuff, and which is part of the business. I would have, just regular nightclub customers come up and ask, hey, do you think I can go out with this girl? Do you think she'll go out with me? And I'm like, I didn't pay attention. I'm like, well, go ask her. What are you asking me for? It's up to her. So it started then, and then by the second nightclub I had, which was in Ridgecrest, California, that was the first club I owned by myself.
So Hawaii, you didn't do the prostitution business?
No, I'm just saying it was always there, right?
Right.
And I didn't really, the first time I acted on it, or actually allowed it to happen knowingly, was at the show in Hawaii. So those things, like the certain kind of businesses I was in, it's kind of like I wasn't now planning to be, like I said, an escort agent and to be in this business, but it's just one of those businesses where it just comes to you. Just like
don't you have a book? Do you have a book out on this subject? Did you write a book? What's the name of your book?
It's called Madame Suzanne.
And does it tell all this story about how the business starts? So it's okay for me to ask you these questions. And, and people, then I'll put a link to the bottom on the show notes. So if anybody wants to buy the book, they can and get these details. But I'm going to ask you without having read the book. So when you started in that business and somebody approached you first, what's the next step? What do you do?
So for example, I'll give you an example. A celebrity came in Waikiki. He was on vacation. And he's a very well-known celebrity. And as you know, I'm just going to let everybody know that's watching that I never, ever, revealed any names. Not in a book, not in with law enforcement when I got arrested. And at no time did I ever reveal anybody's names, whether it's the escorts or the gentleman. And I really believe in this, and I live my life like this. If something happened that is my fault, I just take full responsibility. I don't tell. I don't kiss. Everybody trusted me, and I take that very, very seriously. Everyone is involved as professionals on the client side. They have careers. Most of them are married. So I was never, ever the type of guy that no matter what the DA tried to give me, which we could talk about that later, but
Go
Yeah, I wrote.
chronologically. Help the reader get there. Kind of. We get that you didn't give anybody up, but chronologically get us there. Your celebrity comes in. What happens?
So a celebrity comes in, and sees the show, and at the end of the show, he goes up to the manager and talks to them, and the manager sends them to me. So they come up to me and it says, "Hey, listen, I really love the show. I enjoy the show. My name is so and so." I'm like, "Okay, I know who you are, right?" So I was, of course, you got to be nice. I said, "Yes." He goes, "Well, I really like the start of the show." Now, the thing about this is the start of the show at the time was also my living girlfriend. We started dating and she was living with me at the time, right? This is like a year and a half into the show. So, tall, just to give the viewer an idea, she was tall, like 5'10" without heels. So with heels, she's like 6'2", 6'3", beautiful, gorgeous blonde, beautiful body, face, very funny, sang like an angel. Really, really, really a good MC. She was the glue that kept the show together, if you will. So he said, I would like to see her, to take her out tonight. And you know what that means, right? I said, well, what are you thinking? So he goes, well, see if she'll do it for 20 grand. Remember, this is 1995. Okay. And I said, 20 grand, huh? Would that be cash? So he started laughing. He said, yeah, of course. I said, okay, well, let me ask her, right? So, because he felt funny going asking her, right? So I go up there and I'm like, you know what? Let me test this girl out, see what her threshold is to do whatever it is for the money. Because everybody has a certain threshold, I learned over the years, as far as money. Like, oh no, I wouldn't do it. No, 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 no. And then you get to the yes at some point. Because money is a funny thing. It's the most powerful motivator on earth. So I go up to my girlfriend and I says, so-and-so really loved the show and he really liked it. She goes, yeah, I noticed him. He was in the front row. And she's smiling. I said, well, he wants to go out with you. What do you think about that? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, he wants to be with you for the night. What do you think he wants? And it's 20 grand. I just wanted to see her reaction. And of course, she's like, oh, but what about you? We're together. Well, I said, well, it's not, he didn't ask me, he's asking you. So I'm asking you because he asked me to ask you. So what do you think? She goes, well, what do you think? But right then, Michael, I knew, right, that 20 grand was enough of money to forget about everything else for her. That was her threshold. It might have been 10, I don't know. And I said, well, it's up to you. You do whatever you want. And, I'm not going to take it, personal. I'm not going to get upset or anything, 20 grand is 20 grand. And sure enough, she went with him and she came the next morning, like 10 o'clock or whatever. And she came with the cash. So to be honest with you, that was,
also, he didn't pay the 20 grand to you. He paid the 20 grand to her.
Right.
I see. Okay. And so that's how you got started.
And that was a hook for that business, if you will. Money is a funny thing,
So did you have some type of a split arrangement with her where you got paid part of the 20 grand?
Well, I took half.
Okay. So that's generally the market then. Is it that the person who puts everything together, he'll take half of whatever comes in?
Yeah. That's usually sometimes it's 60-40 split towards the girl, but mostly it's 50-50. It's a split partnership. At least that's the way I did it.
I see.
From that point on.
And so I could see how that would, and so but that transaction, if law enforcement offered that a transaction, it would be some type of a bust then. Is that right?
Of course. That would be.
Okay, but that didn't happen to you for a long time. You continued in that business for how long? In Hawaii?
So the lease was 4 years on the showroom. At the end of the fourth year, which was towards the end of 96, I had an option to either renew another 4 years or not. And my girlfriend at the time, who was the star of the show, she's from Las Vegas, and she missed. A lot of people get what's called rock fever when you're on an island, and they just want to get off the island, go home, So she wanted to go back to Las Vegas, and I made a decision. I thought we were a couple and we're in good standings. I said, and I'm a people pleaser. I said, okay, we can go try it out. So we moved to Las Vegas, and within 3 months, I had just bought a house. Back then in Las Vegas, you can buy a home for 135 grand. It wasn't that expensive. Bought a house, furnished it, looking to start what I'm going to do with the business because I had some money from the show and everything. and she started doing drugs. And that's one thing I don't really have in my life is drugs. To me, to each his own, of course. I'm not judging anybody. It's just that with drugs have come a lot of drama. So I never really wanted it around my circle of trust, inside my circle of trust, or around me. So she started doing coke. So I did not know that she had a problem with cocaine use prior to going to Hawaii. And going back to Las Vegas, it was a lot of triggers for her. A lot of her friends are in the entertainment business around the Strip. They all work in different shows and stuff. So anyways, within 3 months, the relationship was going downhill. I started a limo service. I was out trying to promote it. She's with her friends doing coke. So I just let it go. I just let her go. And incidentally, about 2008, I'm watching one of those tabloid shows on TV, and here she flashes that she OD'd in one of the suites on the Strip. This is years later. I had not seen her or talked to her or anything. So yeah, that's one of those things that about my life. I just don't like drugs inside my circle. People can do whatever they want. It's on them,
Yeah. So you moved from Hawaii to Las Vegas. You transitioned from the club business in Hawaii to the limo business in Las Vegas. But I assume the limo business has a similar auxiliary side business of prostitution. Is that right?
You got it, Michael. You're getting the pattern.
But how does prostitution relate to the limo business? Because I could see in the club business, women who are going there are already inclined to do that. But when you're in the limo business, how do you build your stable of women that want to pursue that path?
So here's what happened with that, right? And again, I did not start a limo service to sell girls or sell that service, escort, what we call escort, right? I started the limo service. I bought one, which I worked myself I always like to see how whatever business I'm in, I always like to see myself, what's involved, all the way down to the bare minimum. Because this way, when I start hiring people, I know how it works. I know what to expect. So I like to build the system in any business I do, right? So this is no different. So I started back then, this is before the internet. I didn't discover the internet till 98 for business purposes. So this is in beginning 97. And I'm out there promoting it the old-fashioned way. I'm talking to strip club owners, to managers in strip clubs and nightclubs, and casino hosts, like VIP hosts with people that deal with high rollers and gamblers, because I always like to do things on an upscale level. So I was just target marketing the people that I think would need transportation, high-end transportation, which is, the limousines. So while I was doing that, I started getting calls, and of course I did some advertising and stuff on, back then, which was like the newspapers and the certain things they had in Las Vegas for the Strip, for the casinos and the businesses and stuff that tourists look at when they come in. So as I was doing that, I was driving it myself at first, and I would get clients, of course, from a strip club or from a bar or from a nightclub or, whatever. And of course, they're intoxicated usually. It's the Las Vegas experience. That's why Las Vegas says what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They did a great job marketing Las Vegas as the adult playground, just like Disney is for kids, So they basically kind of, brainwashed people. So the client is in the back, is like, hey, man, where can I find some girls? Do you know any girls that, I can go and have fun with? Well, Michael, by the 20th guy in a row that asked me this, almost every client that was in the back of the limo asked me the same thing. I'm like, well, maybe I'm in the wrong business here, So I said, let me give the market. I like to have the market dictate to me. Of course, this was illegal. I'm a different guy today, but back then I'm like, well, let me give the clients what they want, because the client dictates to you, where to go with your business as far as the direction or path. Give them what they want. So I knew a few girls here and there that I knew from Hawaii. A lot of girls from Hawaii used to move to Vegas just because they wanted to make more money, and they were building all these different casinos at the time. Timing is everything. So I contacted a few of my friends that I knew from Hawaii. They were in the strip business or whatever. And of course, I ended up with 5 girls, and we built the model for the business.
And it was the same model, 50-50 split?
Yeah, well, actually, a couple of them, I gave them 60.
Okay.
I gave them 60. Yeah, we go way back, and I just felt it's more.
But always they paid the women, and the women then paid you.
Yeah, I never got money directly from a client ever.
And but yet you were, because you provided the vehicle to get to the women, you were guilty in the eyes of the law.
Well, it's called, I was making the deal happen. It's procuring, it's pandering, because I'm getting the girls to do this business. This is how the law looks at it. And
Right.
It's pimping because I'm making money off the
Women
that work for me.
Is that where you got in trouble?
That's where I got in trouble, yeah.
In Las Vegas?
No, I got in trouble for this in Orange County in 2017.
So we're talking with the author of, what's the name of your book?
Madam Suzanne.
Madam Suzanne, and he's giving us the insight, which you could learn about by getting the book, and the link is down below directly to buy the book. But I'm just asking him questions to get an idea of how he got into the prison system and what transformed his life while he was in prison. But now we've heard the backstory of how he got into the escort business. You eventually left Las Vegas and came down here to Orange County. Is that right?
Yeah, so let me just say there's one part that we skipped. So in 98, I discovered online, and at the time I started dating this girl that was already doing it as an escort, and she was building a website. So from that point, I'm like looking at this new world, the World Wide Web. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I can actually stay at home and not have to go out to market whatever business I have. And I was helping her, so I got into the escort business online. I was one of the first three websites online for this business. So then,
what was your website domain?
So I was working with a Penthouse Pet at the time. So it was in her fake name. I could say it because she'd done it for years. Her name was Lisa Storm. So it was lisastorm.com. But I ended up, within about a year, I ended up building 3 different websites for her under her brand. One was the escorting one was a fetish one because she did other fetish services, and one was a live chat type of, back then live chat was really huge, where they can see the girl live and talk to her, and she can do shows and stuff.
So that's not illegal, is it, to build a website and have the women on the website? It's just a matter of getting people to the website. Is that right?
Yeah, that was legal. It was a membership model at the time. So we'd have members, you charge them $19.95 a month, and they come in and they have access to all the videos. And she did different things every week. I shot them, edited them. That wasn't the legal part. When it started becoming,
how many members did you have on that site?
At the time, I had over 3,900.
So 4,000 people paying $20 a month, generating roughly $75,000, $80,000 a month through this website.
And from her escorting, we were pulling in about $120,000 a month from the escort part.
So that would also become leads for you then that fed it. So people would then contact you and they'd want to date her, so to speak. Right, is that right?
Correct. And I did advertise her on certain escort advertising websites specifically for this business, like
and that does cross the line into breaking the law.
It's illegal. Even if I was in Clark County, the Strip is where I lived in Las Vegas. I lived in Summerlin, 30 minutes away from the Strip. But in Clark County, where the Strip is, in downtown is the city of Las Vegas. It's different jurisdictions. But in either of them, it's illegal to conduct prostitution. And a lot of people think that it's legal in Vegas because of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas and all this marketing thing that they did, the tourism there. But it's really not true. The 7 counties that I described earlier that has legal prostitution and brothels laws in the books since the 1800s, since the cowboy days or whatever, those are like remote. Like Pahrump is probably the closest one, which is Nye County, is the closest one to the Strip. But most of them are up by Reno, like the Moonlight Bunny Ranch that was on HBO. A lot of people are familiar with that one, with Dennis. That's up by Reno. That's I think Spark, Nevada. Sparks is a different county. So there's 7 counties, but they're all rural that it's legal, but not in Las Vegas.
But you didn't get in trouble in Nevada. You got in trouble in California. Is that right?
Correct.
So what happened? What brought you from Nevada to California?
So I was visiting San Diego. My mom lives in San Diego, and my younger brother lives in San Diego. When I moved to San Diego, they kind of came after. My younger brother had a stroke, unfortunately. And when he had a stroke, And I was visiting, of course, we're family, we're very, very, very tight. I grew up with him as a twin, we're really close. So I just took on the part of taking care of him with my mom, because he couldn't move on his right side. He lost his speech. It was a really severe stroke. And that's what brought me back to San Diego, and ended up staying there, just taking care of him. And that's another whole story. But yeah, that's how I ended up back in San Diego from Las Vegas, just for family.
And in San Diego, or when you came to Southern California, you resumed the same kind of business?
No, I really didn't do any business. I just had savings, and I went through it until about 2012. I started a regular transportation company for a little bit, a video security company, sold the businesses. I wasn't really interested in them. I don't like to be in a business that I don't enjoy, because then, it's just not fun for me.
So what happened in 2012?
So 2012, I had a really good friend that lived in Newport Beach. And at the time, Michael, my funds had gone really, really low. And if you remember when I told you about my self-worth, I've always thought I was that guy that thought that if I didn't have a certain amount of money, I was broke, right? So to me, I was broke. I wasn't, but to me, I was broke. I didn't have that much money. So I'm talking to my friend from Newport Beach, and she's telling me about Newport Beach. So I go and visit a couple of times. I love the area. And I'm like, yeah, I want to live in Newport Beach. It's right. It's upscale. It's nice. I love being around the ocean. It's beautiful. It's very serene. Well, So I said, that's the plan. I said, okay, well, and then I started thinking. I said, well, maybe I can do this one more time and do it really good, because what we skipped on in Las Vegas is I ended up having an escort agency. And I had a license. It's called an alcohol promoter license, but the license only covered no sex. Only covered that the guy can call in and get the girl from wherever she's at to his room, because most gentlemen are just in there for a convention or whatever. At least that was my target market. And she can dance for him, and that's it. She can give him a lap dance, or just like what you see in a strip club. But of course, that's not what we did. We took that to the full escorting experience, right? Or it's called the girlfriend experience, which means sex.
It seems like that would be a very easy crime for law enforcement to prosecute. I mean, they could just go in there as a decoy and try and take the service, and
yeah.
So it's really pretty dangerous, isn't it, as far as getting caught?
Yeah, it's a high risk, but the thing is, in Las Vegas, without saying much, it operates a little differently. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So if you know the right people, and they get the envelope or whatever every month or every week, they'll let you know what's going on.
So you're saying that in addition to the crime, there was also the crime of corrupting law enforcement?
There was that. Of course, there's always that in every city, but Las Vegas is definitely prevalent.
What about the federal government? What about the FBI? I mean, that's something you couldn't really understand.
So the FBI, they pick and choose their battles, because if nobody's really hurting anybody, and if it's kind of thing where it's upscale and nobody is human trafficking, nobody's forcing the girls, they're all over age. I always made sure they're all over 21, way past 21. And the clients say it's just a service, and it's part of the whole experience in Las Vegas. The feds have more problems in Las Vegas with also these other problems, that it's more of a priority, because they got Secret Service there, you got the feds there, there's people doing all sorts of stuff in the casinos, and you got violent stuff, and so they prioritize. So we're not really much of a priority.
So you weren't worried about law enforcement at any time, all the way through up to Newport Beach. You'd never had a problem, and you didn't worry about that.
You know what? It's not like I didn't worry about it, Michael, because it's part of the business. You're doing something illegal, you know it. It's outside the license, the scope of the license that I had. But because of the way I did it, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So the way I did it, I kind of minimized the risk. And of course, the reward has always been up here. So anything I did was, you want the reward up here and the risk down here. So
you were prepared to lose your liberty and go to prison because the reward was good enough. Is that right?
That's crazy, but yeah, you're right.
So then you came to Newport Beach, and we're going to hear right now, I presume, what is the main meat of your book, Suzanne. What is the title again?
Madame Suzanne.
Madame Suzanne. I got to write it down. So Madame Suzanne, the primary title of the book is what transpires in Orange County.
Right.
And what happens in Orange County?
So
I started Newport Beach. You like it? Where are you, on the peninsula, or where are you in Newport Beach?
I was right by Balboa Islands, right on right by Balboa Island.
So what do you do on Balboa Island?
So now I lived with my friend for about 3 months, and then I got my own house. I wasn't sure whether I'm going to do this or stay there. So what I do is I always do my beta testing at first in any business before I dive, 100% in, right? Before I'm totally committed, because I'm a committed guy. I'm not going to do anything halfway. I'm going to do it either 110% or nothing. So I hired a couple of girls that had their own places.
And you knew these girls?
I didn't know these girls. No, I just put an ad in a couple of places. And
where? Where do you put an ad?
So there's a couple of back in those days there was a website called Sexy Jobs. It's basically you can hire porn stars to do porn, or you can hire adult related modeling.
So it's like a want ad for sexy women.
And also Craigslist. Craigslist was really, really huge.
And then they would call you and said, "Yeah, I want to work with you." Is that right?
Yeah. So I had a dozen different. I'm really professional in everything I do. So I developed a system for this, right? And I got it even better after Orange County, which I'm working on my next book right now, which is going to be published. I self-publish at the end of the month, which is exactly the system I had for this business. But
where do they get these books? On Amazon?
It's Amazon, yeah.
So you'll have Amazon, the links. Google You'll send me the links that we could put in the show notes.
Sure.
For both books, so that people can find you and so on and so forth. Because I'm just asking you questions to let the audience really understand what's in your book. So you place an ad in this website called Craigslist or Sexy Girls or whatever, and they start calling you and applying for the role. Is that right?
Yeah. So I tell them.
But wait a minute. But there's no crime at that stage, correct? What you're saying now, there's no crime?
No, it's not. But it's a red flag. It's a red flag for law enforcement.
Okay.
But I wrote the ads in a certain way where I did not talk directly about, listen, I want to hire you as an escort to go and have sex with clients. Of course not. I wrote it in a way where it tells the person that's really interested in this kind of job that, yeah, this is the kind of job it is, without saying it. So it was implied, if you will, without really, I kind of stretched it, like the law, they say it's like a rubber band, you stretch it, but don't break it. So I kind of stretched it up to a point where they cannot really prove that's what I was doing if they read it as far as law enforcement. And that was my recruitment selection technique to get the girls to start calling me, the ones that want to do it, right? So I never forced anybody to do anything they don't want to do. I put the ad out there just like anything else. If you want to be a restaurant manager or car salesman, you see the ads and like on Indeed or Monster.
How many prospects did you get from that ad?
So usually the way it averaged, especially when I was in high gear, I had a dozen different ads at any time. They've written differently because keywords attract different brains differently. Different sets of people think differently. So I would have 12 different styles of ads written, and I would get an average about 10, 15 emails a day. I did it all through emails first, my screening of the girls, because I wasn't going to put phone numbers, or I had to, be safe. And then I would say out of every 100 emails or so, 100, 150 emails a week, out of 100, I may like maybe 5 of them. Because I was looking for a certain look.
But you're not hiring them. You're just going to be a middleman.
No, I'm going to hire them, of course.
So you're going to pay them like a weekly wage or something like that?
No. These are the way the business works in escorting is you get them the clients. You set them up with everything. Get them the clients, the place to do it at, if they don't have their own place. The screening of the clients, making sure it's not a cop or a rapist or a robber or you name it, right? So
how do you do that?
It's a screening system I developed over the years. So I have different softwares. I have different techniques. I have different ways of, just like anything else, I have a certain system that I use, and it goes in
Do you describe that in your book?
In the book I'm writing right now, I'm describing the system of how I did it.
Are you comfortable telling the audience like what that system looks like, or do you want them to buy the book?
Well, I can. It's a very extensive. I'm an open book, anyways, Michael. But it's a very extensive system, right? As a whole, and especially the screening. The screening is like the $64,000 question that I get all the time. How do you screen for clients? And it's really has a lot to do with experience first, because you can always tell within 3 seconds of a phone call if the person is serious or they just want to waste time, or they just want to, whatever it is they want to do over the phone, or if they are law enforcement. In fact, law enforcement is the easiest one to screen for.
Why?
I can give you that. So law enforcement, there's something about their voice, and there's an authority in their voice. They cannot let go of that. It's very hard. And they have the ego that goes with it. So it translates into that voice. It's into their tone. And they also they're not talkative. They don't want to give you any information to help you figure out if they're real or not, as far as like, their age, description, occupation. They just don't want to talk because they're cops. They want you to talk, see? And they can't get rid of that. And quite frankly, even if some of the clients, they have that kind of personality and they could have been a real client, it wasn't worth it to me. I always had a rule. If you have a 1% doubt in the call that this person is just, something is not right about them, it doesn't sit well, which comes from years of experience, something you can't really teach, which is a gut that you develop in anything you do, then I just drop the call. Because one thing about this business is there's so many waiting in line, and you never have to worry about one client. You can let go a client or two.
How many clients did you get a week?
So the DA's office who prosecuted me in Orange County, they said I had over 8,600 clients. I never really counted them. I was so busy. But I think it might be inflated because maybe they looked at my contact list and I had 22 phones at any time, for other reasons, but for this business. But I think I had at least maybe 6,000 or 7,000 clients, to be honest with you. But they said 8,600.
And so so you said that you had to provide a place. What did you do? Rent apartments or homes here in Newport?
So do you want me to skip the part how I started it and just go straight to when I was really doing, like at the height of the business?
I want you to, walk us through as fast as you can, because they're going to have to buy the book to get all the details. But I want to get through what brings you into the prison system and causes you to transform your life.
So I started doing a small, like everything else. Like I was telling you earlier, I was testing it. And I hired a couple of girls that were already doing it because I didn't have to teach them and train them and everything else from scratch. And they were doing it out of their home. So I didn't have to get an in-call location. In-call location means the client goes to the girl. Out-call is when the girl goes to the client. So, and every business model is different. So Las Vegas was all out-call because my target client was the guy that come in for a convention. He wants to see a girl at the end of the night. After he does these things with the convention and business in the morning, and then dinner with colleagues, maybe a little gambling, whatever, and then they call the girl, and which was in my agency. So the girl went to there. Everybody had a hotel room, so they went to there. So that was a different business model. In Orange County, it was mostly 99% of the business was locals. And this is why I liked Orange County, because that's where the money is, right? So I had to have in-call locations because all these guys are married. 99% of them are married, right? So they don't have a place. You either got to do it out of a hotel room or an in-call location. So when I was testing it, I hired these two girls. They had their places. I saw that the market can sustain and can support my goal, because I wanted to, if I'm going to do this, I always set a time and or a money goal. And whichever one comes first, I got to stop. You can't be greedy, because then, you get in trouble. So anyways, I went from 2, then I started hiring girls, did it through like a nice hotels, like the Hilton by John Wayne across the street, the Irvine Hotel, which was a Hyatt back then on Jamboree. And I did it in really nice upscale places because I wanted to make sure my target market was upscale and they can afford that $500 an hour to $1,000 an hour, depending on the escort. And I went from there. Then I started getting my own places right there on Michelson Jamboree and Main and Jamboree in Irvine. And I ended up with 4 different complexes. I kept it down to between 3 and 4 apartments in each complex because of the traffic. And I made sure I chose the right locations. There's a whole bunch of things about the system that, I do for this business, right? And I won't go into details because it's just too long.
Because they have to buy the book.
And also they have, right. They have to buy the book, right? But I explained that all in Madame Suzanne. It's on Amazon. But so, at the end with it, by 2014, I ended up with 12 different locations. They're 1 bedrooms, but they're upscale. In Irvine, they're $2,500 a month, so it wasn't cheap. Plus the utilities, plus I had a housekeeper and all the other supplies.
You're spending $40,000-$50,000 a month just on locations.
My overhead on location is about $60,000.
So $60,000 a month on locations, but you're bringing in what kind of revenues?
So I would bring in, so I'll tell you the gross. The gross was over 100 a week. And after I paid for everything, I kept about 50. This is net a week.
Right. So you're
50,000.
making about 50 grand a week in this business, and it lasts for how long?
I went from 2013 to 2016. I retired in June of 2016.
And what happens in June of 2016? Does law enforcement come after you?
So since 2014, I started noticing, of course, the calls, and this is why it's called Madam Suzanne. When I took on this project, I said, I'm never gonna let anybody know what I'm doing on my side, because I don't want to get told on, because people get upset and they tell on you, which I've had experiences in the past. So I said, if I'm going to do this project, I'm going to do it all alone, which is a really huge undertaking, Michael, because I'm wearing 20 different hats. You know, to get this job going, you have to hire the girls, you have to vet them, you have to screen them. Then when you get to, meet them and hire them, then you got to do the videos, the pictures, and I did everything myself, the shooting, the editing. I can't trust anybody. The only thing I didn't do is clean the places, because I just couldn't do it. So I hired a housekeeper, and that was pretty safe. And I had to do all the websites. Each girl had her own website. I have a certain system how I cultivate clients at the beginning. I don't let them know it's an agency. I do them as independents. So each girl looks like an independent to a client, to a prospect. And then each girl had to have a website, her pictures, videos, email address, her own phone number. And of course, I'm in control of everything. So all the phones are on my desk in front of me. I'm the one that answers everything.
But the people don't pay you; they pay the woman. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Nobody
knows. And then the woman immediately pays you.
So I had a system where we worked. My business hours, since I'm one person, was 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. So my client, I always target a certain client, and my target client was a professional, married, upscale, lives or works in the area, or both, and they just want to come in, do their thing, and go back to work. So that's why I chose those hours, and they worked really, really good. And that gave them plausible deniability, because they're all married, so supposedly they're at work. So I try to make it really convenient for them, So I ended up with 12 places and 65 girls, because I only allowed the girls to work 2 or 3 days a week. So I had to have enough people to sustain all the slots, the time slots, to be in each girl had one place for that one day, will be assigned that one place. And nobody lived in those places. It was just for those 8 hours of business. I shot the pictures and the videos and everything in there, of course. I had them all I had an interior decorator come in, everything nice and upscale. It was really nice, because I was targeting that upscale client, so I have to make sure everything fits their lifestyle so they can be comfortable. Because discretion and safety and upscale and all this stuff is very important for these clients. So I did the best I could to do the best job as I can. I was working, Michael, 17, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the way from 2012, the end of 2012, to when I retired in June 2016. And what started happening in 2014, because I'm fielding all the calls, I started seeing there's more activity with law enforcement, with Irvine PD. More than Einham PD got in the picture. Then I found out at the end of 2014 that they had a human trafficking task force. Now makes me more of a target, even though I'm not involved in human trafficking. No one is underage. I'm not making anybody do anything they don't want to do. I did it the best I could for both the clients and the escorts. But the law enforcement doesn't care about all that. They just want numbers, So I started seeing more and more activity around the complexes. What they try to do is, and this is their model to bust something like this, is they try to come in through my screening system. Let's say I make a mistake, and I let the cop in. I let him make an appointment with one of the girls. They go and meet the girl, and then they get their elements, which is sex for money. That's what you need in the state of California for a bust, or prostitution. And then they get the girl. Now that's on the girl, right? Now, which is for her, which is a misdemeanor. But then what they're interested in, they know there's somebody sophisticated behind the scene, because they've seen all my ads, they've seen what's going on. They know, right? They're not stupid. And Irvine is not that big. So they want to bust the girl. This way the girl will turn on me and tell all on me. Now, once they do that, now they start having a valid investigation against me, and they start building the case. Now, that never happened. So the longer that it took, the more pissed off they got. They got really upset that we can't get this person. because they don't have an idea that I have an edge, because my screening, I can tell because I have all the information in front of me. So no matter what phone number they called, it was coming to me. So I can see the traffic, I can see the activity in front of me. And I have a long history of fielding calls and training. I had, like in Vegas, I had 220 girls and 33 phone girls. And somebody had to train these girls, you know? So I had a really good system for the screening. Make a long story short, they started hanging out in hallways around the complexes. Like I was at Park Place on Michelson, you know that place, and the girls will tell me, man, these weird guys in the hallways when they go into work or leaving work, right? And more than one girl telling me, and I told them to take pictures of them, and I did all my whole, you know, investigation myself, you know. So I said, okay, this is getting too much, you know. So in June 2016, I decided to just on a Thursday, I decided this is enough. I've seen enough. I know what's going on. I know what they're doing. I found some GPSs on my car, my girlfriend's car at the time. And I just said, this is enough. So I shut it down. On Monday, I Airbnb'd all the places. And Airbnb is, you know, really, really active at the time. And
did you have lawyers before you got in trouble, like on retainer, that might be there to advise you or help you? Were lawyers involved?
So I've always, you know, been really a law scholar, you know, because I had to be, because of what I'm doing is illegal. The advantage I had in Orange County is 500 or 600 clients, they were attorneys. I had a lot of attorneys as clients. And I got to be really close with a few of them that would call and would talk about personal stuff. And just incidentally, the reason why it's called Madame Suzanne, this is a good place to give you the hook at the end of the movie, right? Because everybody that called in thought they were talking to a sophisticated, middle-aged, upscale madam from Newport Beach. But it really was me with a voice changer.
Okay.
Because I'm doing everything myself. The last thing a guy the prospective client wants to hear if he's calling and he's in that psychological frame of mind is to hear a guy's voice. They're going to hang up 9 or 10 times. It doesn't work. So that's why I had to do it this way. Plus, it was protection for me, so nobody knew my real identity.
So you bought a voice changer, and that was sufficient for you to change your voice so it sounded like a woman?
Well, back in the day, I used to go to spy shops, and this is when I used to train the phone girls in Vegas, before the internet. It was actually a $700 gadget that you put on top of your phone over here on the mouthpiece, and you spoke through the box. But then it's gotten sophisticated with apps. Now they have apps. You can not only you can change your voice from male to female, female to male, but you can also choose how the voice is. Is it a younger girl? Is it an older, sophisticated girl? The way you talk, so the tone and the frequency comes out on the other end the way you choose it. So I use.
And the listener can't detect that?
No.
Wow. So you close down shop. What happens? How do you get targeted or served?
So I started noticing. I retired. Like I said, I had reached my goal, my financial goal, right? And
did you write about your financial goal in the book?
I'm trying to think.
What was the financial goal?
It was 8 figures.
So north of $10 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so you reached north of $10 million in liquid assets, I presume?
Well, everything is cash.
Yeah, so it's all liquidity.
All
and
cash.
What happened? So you got $10 million plus. What do you do?
Good question. So one thing I did not do is, you rob a bank and you have a plan all the way until you get out of the door. Now what do you do? If you don't have a getaway car, if you don't, you know what I mean? Like, now what do you do, right? So I got to get to that point. Now you're having a different problem than not having money. Now you're having too much cash in suitcases, right? So what do you do now? So I was so exhausted, Michael, from working 8 days a week, 4.5 years straight. I wasn't really thinking properly, right? So I needed to rest. So what I did is I just did nothing for 2 weeks. And I started trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the cash. I'm going to do all these other things, and what am I going to do with it? I can't just go in. And you know how nowadays you can't buy a car for more than a certain amount of it, and the dealership is going to red flag you to the feds or whoever, IRS, right? So I'm very, very careful. So I basically did nothing, to be honest with you. I had I had storage units and stuff like this, right? So fast forward to, when I quit, I had when the clients that I like, part of my system is once I like the client, that's a VIP, the one I like, I want to keep. What I did is after they saw 2 or 3 different girls, I turned what I call a turnover. I turned them over to my username and password protected website where I had all the girls under the same flag in one website. And that was only for the clients I wanted to keep, which I call them my VIPs, right? And in that website, they could just book within 60 seconds, which was really, really important for these guys because they're all professionals, all busy. They don't want to go through all the screening all the time. So it was really advantageous to them. Plus, they get to see all the girls under one roof instead of having to go look at ads and Eros and City Vibe and here and there and try to look. It's a hassle for them. So I made it really convenient for them, and they loved it. They loved the discretion, the safety.
This is after you retired?
No, this is during, right? So the reason why I mentioned that is because when I quit in June of 2016, I didn't tell any of the clients I was quitting. I didn't tell that I was shutting. It was called OC Fund. That's what I called it, the agency. I didn't tell anybody OC Fund is shutting down. I just put a gone fishing little GIF file on there and picture, and that was it. So within 2 or 3 days, I've gotten almost 1,000 emails saying, "Where did you go?" They were all over the boards. There's something called the erotic review where they have boards, discussion boards for what we call hobbyists, which is the clients. And everybody's asking, "What the hell happened to OC Fund? Did they get busted? Then I started noticing that they had, I found GPS on my cars. That's what they do. They put a GPS on your car tracker. So they don't have to follow you anymore like the olden days. They'll know exactly where you're going. I found GPS on my mom's car, on my girlfriend's car. So I'm like, okay, I got to chill out. But the girls kept calling me, says, when are we going to go back to work? Because, these girls, I let them only work 2 or 3 months, 2 or 3 months, 2 or 3 days a week, and depending on their goal, and always hired girls. You see, there's so many things involved. I don't want to confuse the viewer, but the girls that were working when I stopped, they had not reached their financial goal. Because when I hired a girl, I had to have something positive for her to do. That's why she's in this business. In other words, I did not work with somebody just because they want to get a Louis Vuitton bag or they want to buy a Mercedes, right? I wanted to do this with really good intentions and just to help as much as I can be in this field for both the clients and the escorts. So the escorts, I would ask them, what am I deciding, qualification for this job is, what do you want to do with the money? What do you need the money for? And if she said, well, I got about 75% of them wanted to pay off student loans. A lot of them were college students. And that was a good cause. And some of them wanted to start a business. That was a good cause. Some of them wanted to buy a home. That was a good cause. I had few of them that were in a bad divorce with single moms with a couple of kids or 3 kids, and they wanted to get back on their feet. That was a good cause. So what I did was, a girl would come and say, look, I have $200,000 worth of debt. I'm about to graduate from UCLA, and I'm going to be a dentist, but, I don't want to be in debt. Okay, I always hired nothing but 9s and 10s as far as beauty, so I know I can bring them the money. And I would look at them and talk to them and say, okay, well, maybe it's going to take you about 8 months. But I never let them work more than 1 year. And the reason being is that after 1 year, from my experience, it might be the point of no return to 99% of them, because they're going to get stuck and they're going to get hooked on the money, that fast money. There's no other job that's going to give them $3,000 or $4,000 a day to their pocket cash, working 7 or 8 hours a day, like they did with me. So that becomes a really bad trap. And to be honest with you, I got into that trap. I would never do anything illegal because I'm a different person today. But it's a struggle mentally to be used to a certain lifestyle, certain amount of money, and go from, I'd say from the White House to the crack house, right? I go from here, and now, I have nothing. So I understand how it is. So I just let them, I only hired them if they had some positive they won't need the money for. Get them to that point and get them out. And I told them, look, we're not going to go any further than this. Just get your money and get out. I don't want you to be this escort for the rest of your life or struggle with all these things that you can't turn around on. And I don't want that karma. So.
Did you have problems with violence ever?
No. It's all about the screening.
So your business comes to a stop. Walk us through what happens and how you get arrested and get into the California Department of Corrections.
So around December of 2016, after being, on hiatus, on sabbatical for a few months, from the girls I was talking to, because I became friends with almost all of them. The girls I'm talking to, and then the clients of all over the boards and the emails and all this, I wish we could have it again and blah, blah, blah. And I'm a pleaser by nature. So I said, you know what, we'll give it one more shot, but it's only going to be for the clients that were on OC Fund website, which is the ones that I turned over. I was not going to advertise any longer. I was not going to, put it out there, if you will. It was just for the clients. So I don't know how many, maybe I'd say like 2,200 clients, just for the sake of argument. So I was just only going to hire 12 girls that worked with me. I was rehiring them and just work it that way. Well, and incidentally, I got to say this, up till today, I just served 38 months and got out, and this is almost 4 years later. I have not seen my discovery, Michael, till today.
Because but let's try to stay focused here. So December 2016, you were already retired, but you decided to get back into it. Is that right?
Correct.
Does that mean that if had you not gotten back into it and stayed on hiatus, you don't think you would have been prosecuted?
I can't really say that, because by that time they had spent so much money. And this is the reason why I said I haven't seen my discovery, because I don't know exactly everything that happened behind the scenes.
Okay.
So 16, I know I was under investigation.
But we know that in 16, you went back into business.
Correct.
And when you went back into business, how long were you in business before law enforcement had their first contact with you?
So I did not like, I started noticing a couple of things. A couple of clients were getting stopped outside the complexes, and they let me know it, and they sent me the business card of the detective that was stopping them. They're basically dealing with this like it's a drug operation, like if you have a drug house or something, I've never seen it anywhere else in this business. They don't go that far with this, So they basically had detectives sitting outside of the complexes, watching the traffic, seeing the guy that's driving a Mercedes or a Bentley or Rolls Royce or Lamborghini, and middle aged, and get out, go in and out within half an hour or 45 minutes. They started seeing that pattern, so they started stopping some of my clients, going, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Blah blah blah. Of course, they didn't have to talk to them, but they don't know the law. So a couple of clients around January, they told me, "Look, man, I just got stopped. I just want to let you know," because they cared about the girls, they cared about the operation, they cared about Madame Suzanne, and it's their safety too. So I said, "Okay, it's time to stop." So I told everybody, I said, "Look, this is going to stop on January 31st, 2017. So I was only in the business maybe a month and a half, back in business a month and a half. So guess what happened on January 31st, 2017? I got arrested.
So how do you get arrested? Where are you?
I'm walking out of my girlfriend. My girlfriend lived and worked in Ladera Ranch, 20 minutes from Newport. And I'm walking out of her house on a Tuesday morning. I had just gone to the gym. I came back. I saw this weird SUV, blacked out SUV. I could see there's 4 guys sitting in there with guns, with machine guns, at the top of the street. So I come back from the gym. I see that. I'm like, okay, this is not good. I go inside the house. I'm like, okay, do I have anything here of evidence value? Because I don't want to get my girlfriend in trouble. My girlfriend didn't even know what I did. I hid everything from her. She's a professional. She's a career woman. And she was my age. I said, man, she's never been in trouble. I said, and I was trying to, and I really feel bad about it. And I have a whole chapter dedicated in my book, Madame Suzanne, about it. But I was basically thought I was protecting her by not telling her anything. But anyway, so I'm walking out of her house. There's nobody at home. Her kid, she had a 10-year-old kid. Her kid is at school and she's at work. I'm walking out. I'm like, okay, maybe I can get to my car. I had my SL parked right in front of the door, right on the curb right there. I said, okay, I can get to my car and get in there and go, right? And I didn't make it to my car, and just 23 cops came out of everywhere, with AR-15s. Just
I'm a little confused. Did you say you were at the gym, and then I went to the gym?
No, I went to the gym by her house, right? And I came back to her house. I stayed, the night at her house. And my house was in Newport, but
when you saw the gym, didn't you say that when you came out of the gym, you saw the law enforcement? When I got on her street, right? You get to see, because we were dating already like 3 years, right? You see the cars that are on the street. If something is off, and I'm always very aware, because I know that I'm doing something illegal, so I'm always aware. I'm always paranoid, which is not fun.
So I saw the vehicle, and I know what law enforcement uses for vehicles. It's a dark black car, tinted windows, and I looked through the windshield, and you could see when I was driving through, and you could see this freaking guy sitting in there.
So why did you go to her house if you knew that law enforcement was there on the street?
So
why did you just keep driving?
So when I'm in the gym, right? I'm coming out the gym. I wanted to go in the house because I had few actual phones in the house, and I had the laptop in the house.
So you wanted to get evidence out of the house.
I wanted the evidentiary stuff getting out of their house because I didn't want to get her in trouble.
And you wanted to put that in the car and then drive away.
So I put them in my laptop bag, put everything in my laptop bag, and changed my clothes from my gym clothes to, clean clothes or whatever. And I was trying to get to my car because I thought they were just watching me because, I've been watched so many times, and I guess you get whatever. I didn't think they're going to arrest me that day, So I was already developing a plan in my mind. But so I didn't make it to the car. And they just told me,
They arrested you right at the house.
Right in front of the house.
And then did they search the house and find the evidence?
Oh yeah. They were talking to my girl at the same time. She in front of her business. They arrested her. They arrested me. They took the kid out of. They went and got the kid out of the class. Her sister came and got it. It was a whole nightmare, man. It's a nightmare.
Were you taken into custody right there?
Yes.
And when you were taken into custody, were you released on bond or were you held in custody?
They gave me a $3 million bond with a 1275 attachment, meaning I had to show where every single penny, where the source of every penny came from.
Which means you couldn't meet the bond then, right?
And they wanted me to use 3 different properties as collateral, not one. So they had all these conditions because they didn't want me out.
So you didn't get out?
No, I just left it alone. I tried to reduce it. I could have done $1 million with the property without getting somebody else in trouble, because if I use let's say you're my friend and I asked you to use your property, now they're going to go up in your, the IRS is going to go up in your
finances,
transactions and banking, and now go scrutinize everything you've done.
So were you held at the Santa Ana County Jail?
I was in the Theo Lacey, yes.
Where's Theo Lacey?
Theo Lacey is in Santa Ana.
Oh, okay. So that's a Santa Ana County Jail?
There's a couple of them. There's the main one, and there's the Theo Lacey.
I see.
I think Theo Lacey might have been in Orange. To be honest, I don't remember.
And what did they charge you with?
So they charged me at the beginning. They charged me with 12 counts. Was conspiracy to commit pandering, conspiracy for pimping, and a few pandering charges. What they did was, and excuse me, but I never saw my discovery. All I know is what my indictment was and a couple of police reports. And that's another whole story too, why I didn't get my discovery up till today. I'm still trying to get it today.
Now, my understanding from what you said earlier is at that time you had north of $10 million in liquid assets. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't access it because you're in jail.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you hire counsel?
So what happened was, that night after they arrested me, they kept me in Anaheim PD is who arrested me, which is where the Human Trafficking Task Force originated from, for Orange County, and they have it in LA and San Diego. At that night, the same night, so I got arrested around, I think it was 11 or something like that in the morning, 10 or 11. By 9 o'clock at night, they came in with all this paperwork that they found. They said 469 grand cash in one storage unit. They had found 2.5 in another storage unit. They went to my house in Newport. They found whatever. So they started looking and finding, because remember, they had me on GPS, so they had a lot of these locations already. And like I said, I can't really tell you everything how it happened because, like I said, I have not really looked at all what they did.
I see. So you didn't know how much cash you had because you didn't know what law enforcement had already seized while you were in jail.
Yeah, I had no idea. And remember, I'm a one-man show, right? Nobody else knows anything. It's just all me. So it's not like I told somebody, hey, listen, if something happens to me, I should have, right? But anyway, so it was all just me. So if I'm unable to make a move, then I just sit there.
Does that mean that you were unable to hire an attorney while you were in jail?
Well, I had a bunch of attorneys want to come in and take the case, right? And they wanted to do the the case mainly for the civil forfeiture part of it, because they wanted to try to get a lot of this money back, and they want to make money off that money. So if they, let's say if they brought back, because it's civil forfeiture is a civil proceeding, it's separate than the criminal. And a lot of them were coming in, and I was all over the news, and I was all over the place. And now I got 2020 coming in, Dateline is coming in, LA Times is coming in. And I'm refusing everybody except for attorneys. I'm interviewing attorneys from jail. You know, they come and talk to you. And finally, one of my clients who I was really friendly with, out of Walter Mitchell, out of Newport Beach, he was also a client. He came in and he said, you know what? And of course, he didn't know that it was me. It was a guy. He's thinking Madame Suzanne. So this is the first time he really knows that, you know what? I've been talking to this guy this whole time, right? And, you know, it's funny because some of these guys think they're talking to this madam, and they ask her out. They didn't know it was a 265-pound bodybuilder guy on the other side. It was just a lot of funny anecdotes in that thing, but it'll be good in the movie. But so he came in, and then I said, okay, let's do it. You know, and he charged me like 40 grand or something like this. It wasn't really that much to begin with, you know, to start just up to the speedy trial, because I was trying to go for the 60-day speedy trial. Well, we went to, I don't know if you want me to discuss any type of legalities right now, or.
Well, I'm curious to know what happens. Do you plead guilty? What do you do?
Okay, so we try to reduce the bail to $1 million because I can make the $1 million, and it didn't happen. They didn't want it to go down 1 penny. And remember, I'm sitting there with guys in there for murder, and their bail is $500,000, $600,000. I'm like, I had the highest bail in the whole jail, and I didn't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? Everybody, it was like all consenting adults, Anyway, that's a whole different subject. But long story short, they started putting pressure every time I went to court for whatever reason, for a hearing or whatever, preliminary hearing. The DA, Daniel Varon, out of Orange County, DA's office, he wanted my list. He was focused on my list. And then he started saying, I didn't know at the time, but they had hacked into I had everything I'm very organized. Plus, I'm one person. I had to be really organized to sustain such an operation. It's a huge operation. And I was in the middle of every transaction. It's like crazy. You know, people can't believe that it's one person did all this, right? And my presentation was really good. So, I lost my train of thought. But
you were saying that this Dan Varon wanted you to give up all of your clients.
Every time I walked in the courtroom, Michael, all he was focused on, he wants the list. Then he started accusing my attorney of being a client as well. And I'm the type that I always put things on record in court. I always ask very eloquent. I always ask the judge, hey, may I, you know, address the court, just to put it on record, you know, for later. And I said, Your Honor, and after the third time he's accusing my attorney, and he's not giving up I had a 3 terabyte discovery that I have not seen it till today. It's crazy, right? Preliminary hearing, whatever, everything, no discovery. He said, we're not going to give you the discovery because we have a reason to believe that Walter Mitchell, my attorney, is involved in this conspiracy. They're going that route now because he's a client. So I didn't know that they hacked into my Google account when I had all the calendars into one, because I had all these different, you know, each girl had their own calendar, but I put them on, I have a certain system, and they searched his phone number. And he was using his own cell phone number, which I told him before, go get an anonymous cell phone when you call him, because I knew that he was calling from his business phone and under his name, you know, not smart. So on the record, I stated that, Your Honor, there is, and I played this for a reason, right? I said there is, if he's thinking that my attorney is a client, well, I can tell you right now, on record, that I have state, local, county, federal officials on my list. In fact, I have 2 clients out of the same DA's office that Mr. Varon is working in right now, right?
But wait a minute. Does that mean that you're pleading guilty then? Because you're effectively admitting to the charge then if you've got these people on your list. Is that right?
At this time, I have not pleaded anything. I was just putting it on the record. I said, and now, of course, I said, if he thinks that my client is an attorney, my attorney is a client, then I have on that list, because he kept asking about the list, and I had to just back him off and maybe see if he could, between you and me, maybe, well, the viewers do now, to see if he'll make a deal. Well, you know what?
Let's leave it alone. I don't want to embarrass my DA's office. This was my thinking, right? I don't want to embarrass my DA's office. Let me just leave it alone. Let me give this guy, something, whatever, plead to this and get out of here, right? That didn't work with this guy, Michael. This guy wanted to charge everybody. In fact,
that's how prosecutors a lot of times build their career, is by going after trophies. So
you're absolutely right, because in 2017, if you look it up, the prosecutor of the year was Daniel Varon. He got a nice big notch out of this,
So what do they offer you eventually?
I didn't have an offer. I took a judge's deal. So
what's the judge's deal?
So here's what happened, right? Real quick. Walter comes in the day before we were supposed to submit all the pretrial hearing, where you submit all the motions, right? 2 weeks before the speedy trial is supposed to start, to pick the jury and everything. Because I kept my 60-day speedy trial right. I did not want to waive that, because I knew that there was too much for them to put together. I already knew without looking at the discovery, because nothing was in my name, Michael. Nothing is in my name. No places are in my name. The cars are not in my name. The house is not in my name. The bills were paid a certain way with money orders and stuff. I was always, careful to hide my tracks, right?
We get and understand that you're really sophisticated and you were able to shield yourself, but walk us through, try to get us as quickly as possible, because we want the people to read the book. So,
yeah.
And I know you have all these details in your book, Madam Suzanne, and there's a link below where they can buy that. But help us understand, you get arrested. How long are you in jail before you take a deal, and what is that deal?
I was in there about 4 months, and my attorney recused himself the day before he was supposed to file the motions, the pretrial motions, and he told me he had all these motions. Anyways, I pled with him. I pleaded with him not to recuse himself. He recused himself on a Friday. He got indicted on a Monday. He lost his license.
What did he get indicted for?
11 counts, because he was on the calendar 11 different times, separate times, that he came and saw the girls. And after I pled guilty, now that makes it all, for him, it's not good, right? So I don't know what happened, but all I know is he lost his license. He's no longer a practicing attorney.
So when you plead guilty, what deal do you get? Just you plead guilty, just say blanket whattever the judge thinks is fair?
Judge McKeno, Varon wasn't going to give a deal up. They gave me a public defender after Walter left. I said, well, you see what you can do. You know how it works with a public defender. And Judge McKeno, Varon, the DA, wanted to give me 20, 30, 40 years, whatever, because by that time, he kept adding. Every time he saw an ad online that looked like it could be mine, from the background and the way the girls are and the way the things were done, the style, the upscale style, which was the best one from all the other ads in Orange County, he kept adding. So I ended up with 61 counts, which most of them were pandering. Pandering means that you made the girl work for you in this business, which is really not true, because I put an ad out there but we won't go into the technicalities. So finally, Judge McKeno offered me a 10-year deal. And I knew in the state of California, you do half because it's nonviolent. And I knew that they had just passed Prop 57, the same year that it was getting activated in 2017. And I knew that I could knock off at least 3 or 4 months a year off that sentence. So I knew I'll have to do about 3. So I said, you know what?
So do you plead guilty and get a 10-year sentence?
Yes.
And where do they send you? Let's get into the prison part now. Where do they send you?
First, they sent me to Wasco. Took a couple of weeks. They sent me to Wasco. That's the reception center for that area. I was in Wasco for about 7 months. I was there for a long time.
Now, you said that you're 260 pounds. Is that right?
Correct.
So prison doesn't threaten you in any way? You don't feel threatened?
No, not at all. I mean, I mind my own business, and I don't do drugs. I don't gamble. All the stuff that you're not supposed to do. I'm very friendly. I'm not prejudiced. I can get along with any race. So you get to Wasco, and you're learning how to do a 10-year sentence. What are your expectations when you get there? Just to keep my head down and just try to get as much time as I can off. Try to get home as quickly as I can. That was my main goal. What year did you get there, in 2017? May of 2017 is when I took the deal. I was there June 9th, I believe, 2017. And where do you go after? What happens in this reception area? What goes on there? So you're on a 23-hour lockdown in the reception, right? So you're not going anywhere. So what I did is I'd like to utilize my time. I've always believed that time is the most important commodity we own. So I started writing. This is the book I'm working on now. It was actually written, if you see, in longhand. It was actually written with a pencil because we didn't have pens. And it was actually written. I wrote 4 books while I was in there, and I wrote my autobiography and a movie script. So it was 2 guides, autobiography, and a movie script that I wrote while I was in there.
What is your educational background?
I went to UMass. I have a degree in business management, operations, and finance.
So you're a skilled writer already. You were a skilled writer.
You know, I'm not a best writer as far as technically, but I do okay for somebody that's not.
But you feel confident communicating in sentences and paragraphs.
Yes, absolutely.
And you were able to structure a book and just apply yourself and do the work, and that will help you stay motivated and disciplined while you were in that jail cell. Is that right?
That's true. That is very true. And one of my main goals was to try to flip this negative into a positive, because I did not want my movie to end. This guy is broken. He's in prison. He did a lot of bad decisions, made a lot of bad decisions. I wanted to flip that, Michael, into a positive. And I got to tell you, one of the most important things that I did, which was not intended for that reason, was to take your course.
What year was that?
When I took your course?
Yeah.
I took your course when I got to Chino. I was at Wasco for 7 months. They transferred me to Avenal prison. They had opened up 2 new yards that were not SNY, which is PC, and they wanted mainline guys to go over there, which is general population, because the California CDC, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, they were going to a major shift because over 90% of the prisons were SNY, which is sensitive needs yards, which is protective custody. That's what they call it now, because they're trying
90% of the prison is special needs yard?
All prisons in the state of California. People kept going the other side, to the PC side.
What's the difference between the two?
PC is when you're not on the main line, so you don't want to be involved with politics. You don't want anybody to give you a shank to go shank somebody if you're white. You know, you don't want to get involved with, if you're a Southerner, you don't want to go involved with the Southerners, with their politics and their, debts and drugs and all sorts of illegal activities.
And you said 90% of the people are on that kind of a yard.
90% of the people in the system, 90% of the prisons in the system became SNY prisons.
Which means that there is no volatility in the prison?
Which means that unless you're in a high, like a level 4 prison, like Pelican Bay,
right?
Like those kind of places, that there's no politics. You don't have to sit with all whites. You don't have to.
Were you on that kind of a yard?
I was of Avenal in the general population, but it might as well have been just one of the other populations, because there was no politics, which is great for me because I don't like politics anyways. You know what I mean?
So is that a general population yard or an SNY yard?
I went to a general population yard, but it was ran like, no, don't worry about it. Nobody's stabbing anybody. Everybody just wants to go home. Is
an SNY yard, a special needs yard, is that easier time than general population yard?
It's supposed to be, but from what I understand, just being in Chino, that they even have they started their own SNY gangs, those guys that, even though they're dropouts, and that's why they went SNY, but then they go ahead and start their own SNY bands, SNY gangs.
So it's not necessarily safer, in your view?
No, some depends on what you do, how you do your time, but you could still have problems if you want to go that route, if you're that type of person.
But if you want to go into the prison system and not have problems, you found that you were able to do that?
Yes.
And what did you do? You said that you enrolled in my class. How did you even hear about my class?
So in Avenal, there's a lot of lifers, so you could not get into a program easily because they're not getting out of there because they're trying to get a date, right? So I wasn't successful. Towards the end of my 6 months that I was in Avenal, I was lucky enough to get into the Microsoft Specialist Program, which is basically Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. And you get a certificate and you get time off. You get like eight weeks off. So I started that, then they transferred me to Chino because my points dropped from level 2 to level 1, which is what Chino is, Chino Institution for Men, which is in Chino, California. which was closer to the house, so that was even better for me. And
that's like Riverside County or San Bernardino County?
San Bernardino, yeah. So I went there, and they had a lot of programs. I was really excited, and so I enrolled in college so I can get time off. Every course you get 3 weeks off. Your course gave me 2 weeks off. It was what's called VEP, Voluntary Education Program, and your course was under that flag.
And that was called Success After Prison, or Preparing for Success in Prison, or something like that?
Success After Prison, correct. And it was basically interviews like you're doing right now with different guys like Sean, the guy that became an attorney, and he became a professor, and another guy that had a really nice, business and, stuff like that. So it was really, really motivating.
So how do you find that course? How do you even hear about it when you're in prison?
Well, I went and sought out any program I can get into. I got into the dog program because I wanted to learn how to train service dogs for disabled vets. I wanted to do something good, give back. I got into that. I got into the college. I got into all the VEP. Which one was yours? There's 3 of them, and one was yours. I got into self-help programs. So I needed to work on myself, criminal thinking, anger management.
How is my program delivered in the jail?
So it comes on discs. So you come in the classroom, and you sign up for the class for VEP in general, and they had 3 of them. So like one of them was on health, one of them was on whatever, and yours was prison professor, right? And so you could take just one, or you could take all 3 of them. Each one you complete, you give you 2 weeks off. So that was my first motivation. My motivation wasn't to come in and change my life listening to Michael Santos, because I didn't know who Michael Santos was. My motivation was to get in, because I didn't know what it was about, right?
Sure.
To get in and get my 2 weeks off, because the Prop 57 said you can get up to 3 months off for education and another month off a year for self-help, self-help, excuse me. So I wanted to max out because I'm trying to get the hell out of there. You know what I mean, Michael? And that's how I came across your and let me tell you what your course did for me. And by the way, we have not talked to the viewers. Michael and I, this is the first time we really talked, except for over the phone, just to plan this meeting. So, and I'm not being paid by Michael Santos to give him an endorsement, just so we can cover that part, right? But I really, it was a really good course to get me focused on making a plan, a step-by-step, very precise, very clear plan, exactly what I'm going to do the minute I step out the door. I already had a lot of ideas. I'm a writer, so I always written a lot of stuff that I wanted to do, different business plan, different models of how I'm going to market this, how I'm going to market Madam Suzanne, how I'm going to market these guys, how I'm going to do this. But your course gave me the motivation, and it really fired me up so much that you're one of the only guys I actually wrote a letter to outside of my immediate family. I wrote you a letter. I'm like, you know what? Thank you so much for this course. I really, really appreciate it. I was explaining everything in there, how it changed my life for the better in a positive way. Because you did a really great job, Michael, for motivation for somebody that's really wants to change and somebody that really wants to do well after they get out. That was a great.
Why did the course have meaning to you? Because you were listening to other formerly incarcerated people, or was there another reason?
Well, it was motivating to me because what it showed me that, and I have a lot of belief in myself. I believe in myself, right? I'm not cocky. I don't have an ego. I let all of this stuff go during that, period of incarceration. And I really needed that because I was really egotistical before. I wasn't good. By listening to you and by reading your it came with a little booklet, and reading it and doing the exercises and making me self-reflect and think about, what do you want to do when you get out? Is this going to be the last part of your movie like this? You're going to be just, and this is all due respect to anybody else that comes out of prison. I'm not just going to be rolling around trying to go find a job with 61 felonies on my record. And now, of course, with this COVID-19, it's forget about it. Especially I'm 57 years old. It's not going to happen, right? I said, what am I going to do when I get out? How am I going to support myself? I'm going to support my 80-year-old mother. How am I going to turn this around, this rotten lemons that I gave myself, to really nice, refreshing iced lemonade? How am I going to help others change their life? How am I going to tell people you can overcome obstacles. You can change your life. You can do anything that you want to do. Nothing is impossible. And this is part of what I do now is motivational inspiration videos. And I'm waiting for this COVID-19 to line up so I can do a TED Talk. I'm in talks with them. So I want to do a lot of things that actually on the charitable side, where I want to help other people realize that there's nothing they can't do. And just take whatever obstacle you go through in life. It's all about paths in life. And whatever you go through, you know what? Don't let that define you. Make that refine you and move you forward to be the best version of yourself you can be, and be the most positive person, most productive person you can be.
So I take it you'll send me then all the links where people can get in touch with you, where they can watch your motivational videos. If you send all of that information today in an email today, when I publish this video, all of that information will be in the description below so people can order your books, hopefully subscribe to your channel, support your work, and reach out to you if they want to get more information. But I just want to thank you for giving us so much information. You've been on the phone with us for more than almost 90 minutes now, so this is going to be one of the longer programs. But we will use this as a tool to try and let people know that even if you're facing 20, 30, 40 years in prison, you can begin thinking of a plan to recalibrate your life. And I want to. How long have you been free now?
I got out March 21st, so about a little bit over 4 months right now.
And how has the transition to society been for you during these first 4 months?
I got out right in the middle of smack dab where everything is on lockdown. So I basically went from Chino prison to Coronaville prison, right? That's what I said, because now in Corona. But it's okay, because the things I had to do, I had to sit down, get my laptop out and just start working. And I'll try to tell the audience too, since this is only 4 months, I started a online training business. It's called dogtrainingtogo.com with the person that taught me how to train dogs in there. So we became partners in this. So we co-founded this to help people, especially now, to help people train their dogs at home and kids train their dogs. That's one thing I did right away. Within a month, that was all. I did the website. We did all the training videos and everything. That's live. And so that was a business, so I can start making some money. And also worked on Madame Suzanne and published it within a month. So I published it like not even 2 months after I got out, which was my first book. Self-published everything. I did the audio. I did everything. E-version, the paperback version, and you have to do all these things for these books. You know that. I did that, and and I did all the social media. I do all my videos, my subscriptions. I have Patreon that I'm building. I'm building some interviews too with other people in the business, my old business, and I have also a nonprofit where we're establishing the legalization. It should be legal. This is just my
You
opinion.
have a nonprofit, you said?
I'm establishing a nonprofit. I'm already in the works with someone that's backing me up. I have a GoFundMe page to try to legalize prostitution or decriminalize prostitution like they did with marijuana, because I think if it's done correctly, and if it's two consenting adults of age and they all want to do it, because they're not going to stop it. Just because they arrested me, it doesn't mean it's not happening. It's going to happen. It's legal in over 90 countries. I get contacted by people from Germany, from Ukraine, from Australia, like they can't believe that it's not legal here. So that's just one of the other things that I'm doing besides my motivational.
So send us the links so that I can put them in the show notes so people can contact you. And particularly if you're building a YouTube channel, put those links so that people can visit you and learn more about you. And especially the order forms for people that want to buy Madame Suzanne or any of your other digital products. So that I want to give you as much information as I can. My audience, of course, most of my audience are people in jail and prison, because I'm trying to teach and inspire them. But did you have your own television in jail?
Yes, I did.
So that's how you watch the show. The shows was in your cell. You could tune into to my program, the Prison Professors program, in your cell.
No, you actually went to a classroom. We had an education center with classrooms where they gave GED and they did some college courses or whatever, and it was for VEP, for that voluntary education program. And they had different computer terminals, and you get the CDs of your course. It was like, I don't know, 5 CDs or 6 CDs. And actually 10 CDs. It was 10 lessons, just like the booklet.
Yeah.
That's how they did it. And then you watch each lesson, you answer the questions, and you go to the next lesson.
How do they give you do they give it to you in a PDF, the booklet, or how do they give it to you?
No, it's on disc, just like this video right here. So you watch the video on disc, and you have a paper booklet with it that you can read and then do the assignments after every chapter. So it was like a 10-chapter thing, 10 videos. So every time you watch a video, you do your homework on the booklet, and then you watch the second video until you finished all of them. So it was
and then they give you the credit to get your time off of your sentence.
Yeah, I got 2 weeks off for this.
Sweet. That's the milestone program, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to expand that now so that I'll have new videos every single day in CDCR, because I really believe that if you're serving a long time, you need to get this motivation and inspiration every single day, and not just have, I think that course might have 10 videos or 20 videos, but people are in there for years, and I want to let them know, steps that they can be taking to live a productive life and prepare for success. And I'm glad that you used your time effectively, and glad that Prison Professors was able to give you some hope. And I wish you success as you build your life out here. Please get me that email as soon as you can, because I'd like to publish this video today, which is August the 2nd, 2020. Is that something you can get to me today?
Sure, of course, right away, as soon as we're done here. And just want to tell the audience too, I just spoke with producers, because my biggest goal to make money is to have a series on Netflix and a movie and a documentary. So I just spoke last weekend with a producer and a scriptwriter, and they have a production company. They're interested in making it into a movie, which is Madame Suzanne, the book. So that's in the works as well. So don't be surprised if you see me on the red carpet somewhere, hopefully next year or whatever, with the book and the series on Netflix. It's a very interesting
we're
story.
very grateful at Prison Professors for you telling our story here. If you get certainly on that, we'd ask you to do a follow-up so that we can teach and inspire more guys inside, showing them how you can always turn your life around and always rewrite the next chapter. And that's what you're doing now. I wish you success and peace as you continue your journey to a prosperity again. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate you.
And if you haven't subscribed to the Prison Professors program, we hope that you will subscribe, support our sponsors at CBD TV, and we will work together to try and get more people coming out of prison with a positive mindset that we have seen with Fadi Chaiban. Am I pronouncing your name right? Chaiban?
That's close. Chaiban. Yeah, that's close.
Chaiban. All right. Thanks so much. Please subscribe. Be well.
Thank you.